welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allie. So, I am sitting down to film this video, start this video. Now, this is going to be, I think, a 4-part video series. I would say probably 4 or 5. We will see. It may even end up being less than that. I think I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands with the fact that back to school is here, and currently this week that I am starting this video, my kids are still home. So I am not going to be too focused on it this week as much as I'm going to be next week when they're in school, because both of my kids are going to be out of the house and I'm going to need something to really keep my mind preoccupied. So I'm hoping that this series will really help me with that. But I've been really behind on my booktube videos here on YouTube, so I have been playing a lot of catch up lately, and I was so devastated when I found out that I missed Summerween. I mean, technically I was still reading thrillers and horror books around that time, but if you don't know what Summerween is, it was created by 2 YouTubers, booktubers, Gabby Reads and Oliviareadsalatte. That is their YouTube handles if you want to check them out. I actually haven't seen too much of Olivia's content. I have watched some of Gabby's over time and first stumbled across Summerween by one of my favorite booktubers, Kayla. Her handle, I believe, is Books and Lala, if I'm not mistaken. But I've been watching her for a little, maybe 2 years? I don't know. It's been a while, but I really enjoy hers because she does read a lot of creepier thrillers, horrors, and stuff like that. So I feel like our taste in books are usually somewhat similar. I'm kind of like a wild card of books though. I kind of read all over the place. I just go through different spells where I just want to read a certain genre. So definitely this summer it's been thrillers, horrors, and I can't get enough of them. I've also been reading a lot of true crime as well, kind of in the mix. And for the most part, it's all been just fiction. Every July they do a Summerween, and it was created by Olivia and Gabby. And the idea of Summerween is the fact that it is Halloween and summer. So you're reading thrillers and horror books in the summertime. And I believe they have like a 7-day, I think it's like a 7-day thing in July. I'm hoping I can catch it next year, but this is definitely going to be my take on Summerween for this summer. It's going to definitely be those vibes. So they make it really fun. Go check them out. I'm sure they do other challenges and stuff that I'm just usually not really like a part of, because I feel like I miss everything. I'm always like, but I thought now that I am spending a lot more of my time reading and I'm making content for it now, what better time than to try my hand at just another challenge or just something fun. I kind of wanted to just start a little series anyway, so yeah, this is gonna be kind of my take on Summerween, just a tad bit late, but it gives me an excuse to read some more thrillers and horror books, so I'm excited. So today's video for part 1 of this little book series, I don't even know what I'm calling it. I'm going to be reading a chapter out of each one of these thrillers slash horrors. May just be like mystery, more mystery, but they're just all kind of like spookier, darkier vibes. I'm going to read a chapter of each one and kind of give you my thoughts on them there. And then I'm going to, at the end of this video, after I have read a chapter of each one of these, I'm not really sure yet. I may try to rank them as I read them and then show you guys my rank. So far, that's really hard for me to judge a book off of their first chapter though. So I don't know if I'm gonna be like able to do that, but I'm gonna do something. That, or maybe even just tell you guys like what books I think I'm going to read first. But I don't usually spoil anything. I've actually only done one video where I put spoilers in it, and I made sure I said spoilers. So only my read with me, but I may end up doing a read with me vlog with one of these books, and that video will have spoilers in it. But I think for the rest of this little series, there won't be any spoilers. There definitely won't be any in this video, so don't worry. All right, so we're just gonna dive right on in, start with Stephen King. So this is one of his like first books, Salem's Lot. I'm super, super excited because I love vampires to begin with, but this is actually on the list of, because I was Googling ideas for the future for books the other night, and like some ideas were coming to me. So I was Googling different things about books, and I was looking at the list of like the scariest books ever, and this was actually one of them. This is one of the best horror books out there. But I love Stephen King. He's my favorite. I don't think I still have like found an author that like I love the writing style as much as his. I mean, sure, I definitely have like my critiques like here and there with some of the older books and some of the terms and words used. But besides that, I still just really, really enjoy his work, and he definitely knows how to creep you out. So we're gonna jump into Salem's Lot. A town possessed by unspeakable evil, Salem's Lot. The town knew darkness and the awful heavy silence of terrifying images grotesquely dancing in and out of the shadows, and stark white faces, huge empty eyes, and long gnarled hands that reached out with lustful insistence. And the paralyzing fear of a diabolical corruption and a hideous peril more dreadful than death. But no one living in Salem's Lot dared talk about the high, sweet, evil laughter of a child and the terrible sucking sounds. So I went ahead and read the prologue and also chapter 1. I wouldn't say like the first chapter has me like really, really invested, but I can say I'm intrigued. I want to know more. It, of course, isn't just like fully, like the prologue kind of gave you a little bit more of that dark, sinister feeling of vampires, but I feel like starting out with the first chapter, we meet a character and he's going back home to Salem's Lot, and so we're kind of just like learning a little bit of his background. It's just kind of giving hints here and there, but it is kind of like leading up to something sinister that happened in his childhood, I'm assuming, or a little bit back in his life. Just kind of explaining him going back to this town, and apparently the house that he used to stay at that I'm assuming he still owns, but he's kind of like, it's very eerie for him to like stay there. He's not really comfortable with staying there, but it's like he's going to have to. It definitely is already kind of like building up to something. So I definitely still am intrigued, and I know it's going to get better and better and better. Chapter 1 was just titled Ben 1, and this one is for chapter 2. It is Susan 1. So I think we're going to meet a new character, and I'm wondering if it's going to be the writing style a lot like The Stand that I'm currently reading from Stephen King, and how each chapter kind of is from like one of the characters' perspectives. So it'll be kind of cool to like bounce back and forth and see the similarity with that as well. Okay, book 2 is Dark Side by Belinda Bauer. Let me know if any of you guys have read this. I picked it up at a flea market, so I just thrifted this book. I've never read anything from Belinda. I don't know the writing style. I don't really know anything about her as an author to begin with, but I was drawn to the cover. I thought it was very dark and eerie, and then I remember reading the summary on the back and being like, I'll try it out. I'll see what I think. So I'm going to read that for you guys now. In bleak midwinter, the people of Shipcott are shocked by the murder of an elderly woman in her bed. As snow cuts off the village, local policeman Jonas Hawley is torn between catching a brutal killer and protecting his vulnerable wife Lucy. When the inquiry is commandeered by an abrasive senior detective, Jonas finds himself derided by his colleagues and ashamed to admit to Lucy that he's been sidelined. It seems his first murder investigation may be over before it's begun, but when he receives a series of increasingly sinister anonymous notes, Jonas is thrust back into the center of the case. Someone in the village is taunting him, blaming him for the tragedy. Someone thinks he's not doing his job. Someone seems to know every move he makes, and soon Jonas has to ask, who's hunting who? Okay, the first chapter for this one was a little bit longer. I still think it was just like around 20 pages, but I did have to hit pause for just a little bit, so that's why like I probably look a little more worn out than I did before. But I had to get my kiddos settled. We played some games and then we got them settled for bed. So yeah, I had to take a little bit of a break, but I did read the first chapter. I finished it. I can say I got more intrigued as I read it, but I don't know. I don't know if it just came off as like just kind of slow. And again, it's just the first chapter, but I kind of feel like it's kind of like a foreshadowing of like what the book is going to be, and it's going to be kind of slower. I don't know. Hopefully not. I can say I got more and more intrigued. The first chapter really introduces you to the main characters, but I don't know, I'm kind of glad I have a little bit of true crime to throw in the mix. But so far I can say I don't mind Jonas. I just don't think he's going to be like a super exciting character, so that's why I also think it might be a little slow. But the head detective, I can't even think of his name. What was his name? Yeah, I don't like him. He's kind of an asshole. Besides that, I found out really fast during the moment of the crime, the author referred to a flashlight as a torch, and that was my first, like, clue that she was probably from the UK. And I have found that their location is definitely in the UK, so it is UK based, which I have nothing against. I'm actually really excited because I feel like a lot of the time, the places, if they do, sometimes they don't mention a place, or if they do, it's always just like a state in the United States and stuff. So I think that's kind of cool that we're kind of branching out of the country a little bit. And I also think it's really cool that it is a UK author. It actually says on the back that she grew up in England and Africa and now lives in Wales. So anyways, I'm gonna keep going with it. I hope it's not too slow, because I do feel like it needs a little bit of a quicker pace right now. I think it just may be a little slower just because it's in the first chapter and we're just getting things going. I just hope it's not, I hope it doesn't continue. Like, I hope it starts speeding up. But looking at it, I think it's only 287 pages, so it'll be a pretty fast read whenever I get back to this one. Okay, this one I am so excited because I've seen people rave about this book, but I've also seen some people be like, it's all right. It's nothing like crazy, but there is a sequel. I don't know if this is a trilogy or not, but I do know that there is a sequel. It is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I had to put my name on the waiting list for this one at the library, so I definitely need to make sure I get through this one because somebody's probably already put a hold on it. Or I'm just gonna have to end up buying it, but I will be so mad if I have to wait for the mail to come if that's the case. So I definitely want to make sure I get this one done pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm so excited. Let's get into the summary. This is a story of an investigation turned obsession. Pretty unpopular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Singh, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation, but soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her own life might be in danger. Okay, I blew through that one. So good. I'm already sunk into this one. I really want to continue reading. I think it's the writing style too. They make it very fun, different, fast-paced, And I honestly think that's why I'm liking it so far too, which I kind of figured I was really gonna like this one. But it starts off with her senior capstone project proposal, which is just like kind of all filled out, like you get to kind of like go through, it's almost like records, like you get to see it, and then like how, you know, her teachers responded to her and just said just don't involve the parents or the family. And then even in chapter 1, we have a whole like in her logbook of like putting the information she knows now, reading like reports and different like news things, and then even a transcript of interview with Angela Johnson from the Missing Persons Bureau, which I think was really cool too. So it's just her questions and then the girls' answers back and forth. So it's just kind of like them just talking back and forth. I feel like those type of books, I mean, I just fly through them. So, yeah, only 10 pages. So it was like really easy to get through the chapter 2, but I'm really excited to pick this one back up and read it. Next up is The Searcher from Tana, French. I picked this one up from the library as well. This was recommended by my sister. Well, the author was recommended by my sister. She did warn me that it was slow burn, so we will see how that goes. But I really wanted to pick up The Witch Elm because it kind of sounds more up my alley, but I don't really know too much about this. I think this was her only book that was available at the time being, and then I just made sure it was a standalone. I don't know if she has any series. I don't really know much about this author, so it's another new author for me. This is in the category, it says mystery, so kind of still vibing with the darker themes, because I'm not being like too like on the nose about the roles here. I mean, I'm probably 2 months late by the time you guys see this video, so. All right, so let's get into it. A spellbinding, propulsive new novel from the best-selling mystery writer who is in a class by herself. That's from the New York Times. Cal Hooper thought a fixer-upper in a remote Irish village would be the perfect escape. After 25 years in the Chicago police force and a bruising divorce, he just wants to build a new life in a pretty spot with a good pub where nothing much happens. But when a local kid comes looking for his help, Teddy Reddy's brother has gone missing, and no one, least of all the police, seems to care. Cal wants nothing to do with any kind of investigation, but somehow he can't make himself walk away. Against his will, he discovers that even in the most idyllic small town, secrets lie hidden, people aren't always what they seem, and trouble can come calling at his door. Understand the slow burn with this book. I can say the writing is so beautiful though. I just read 16 very long pages, and the majority of it is literally just describing everything in the area, everything about the house he's living in, and little bits and details here and there about himself, but everything is described like over the top. But in a way, I'm really liking it because I feel like I haven't read a book like this in a really long time. So I actually did really enjoy reading it, but I can see myself probably by chapter 5 being like, okay, you know? So I definitely think it's gonna have to be like a multitask read where I'm going to be multi-reading this one and another one, kind of like going back and forth. I don't think this is going to be one where I can just like sit down, put my mind to it, and fly through it. I think it will be one where I read a chapter here and there and then go back to another one, just so that I don't get too overwhelmed with those aspects. But again, her writing is really, really beautiful, and the way she describes things, I literally got lost in it. Like, I could literally imagine what she was talking about. So if you love that type of reading, you would like this. The description so far is already like really, really good, but we'll see. I'm only one chapter in, so I'll have to let you know if like the book is actually worth the beautiful writing. Up next is another library book. I have been wanting to pick this one up for a long time. I was actually going to buy it, but I seen that my library had it. I just had to put it on hold once again, but I got it. It's Unmasked, My Life Solving America's Cold Cases by Paul Holes. with Robbin, Gabby Fisher. So this is actually nonfiction. It is an actual detective, and he is going through, I'll read the summary to you guys. The cold case vibe here is definitely like coming from the fact that the current season that I am recording right now, fingers crossed it'll be up soon. It's just been very time consuming, but for my podcast Caffeine and Crime is season 7 cold cases. So this one and one of the next books is really setting the mood with the cold cases, but this one is really cool because I actually could probably do some episodes over some cases that he mentions. So that's why I really wanted to read it. I'm assuming that's Paul Holes. But yeah, let's dive into the summary. From the detective who found the Golden State Killer, a memoir of investigating America's toughest cold cases and the rewards and toll of a life-solving crime. I order another bourbon neat. This is the drink that will flip the switch. I don't even know how I got here to this place to this point. Something is happening to me lately. I'm drinking too much. My sheets are soaking when I wake up from nightmares of decaying corpses. I order another drink and swig it, trying to forget about the latest case I can't shake. Crime solving for me is more complex than the challenge of the hunt, or the process of piecing together a scientific puzzle. The thought of good people suffering drives me, for better or worse, to the point of obsession. People always ask how I'm able to detach from the horrors of my job, or of my work. Part of it is an innate capacity to compartmentalize. The rest is experience and exposure, and I've had plenty of both. But I have always taken pride in the fact that I can keep my feelings locked up to get the job done. It's only been recently that it feels like all that suppressed darkness is beginning to seep out. When I look back at my long career, there is a lot I am proud of. I have caught some of the most notorious killers of the 21st century and brought justice and closure for their victims and families. I want to tell you about a lifetime solving these cold cases, from Lacey Peterson to J.C. Dugard, to the Pittsburgh homicides, to, yes, my 20-year-long hunt for the Golden State Killer. But a deeper question eats at me as I ask myself, at what cost? I have sacrificed relationships, joy, even fatherhood, because the pursuit of evil always came first. Did I make the right choice? It's something I grapple with every day. Yet as I stand in the spot where a young girl took her last breath, as I look into the eyes of her family, I know that for me, there has never been a choice. I don't know if I can solve your case, I whisper, but I promise I will do my best. It is a promise I know I can keep. Another good one that I'm really excited about, I think it is the fact that it's true crime. I always get sucked in, and I don't know, for once it feels really nice to be reading a nonfiction. I don't do that often enough. It's usually just not my cup of tea unless it's like a shorter read, which this one isn't too long. We got about, I think, just close to 300 pages. 272, that's not bad at all. This is another pretty short read. I mean, the pages are still kind of long, but I got really invested. I feel like so far there's like this prologue that starts with December 2019 and kind of goes into a case. Talks about the case of Carla Walker in 1974. So it kind of talks about that, and then it kind of goes into his life now in chapter 1, the end of the road. It is talking about him retiring from, I guess you say, the force, but it also is just really talking about like his experience of being married to both of his wives, and like how he wasn't present with his kids, which I totally get it. Like, this is supposed to be like a life story about him, like it's about his life, literally my life. So I know that for sure they want to include like those details of their lives, like, you know, his first marriage failed, and with that, like, his kids were just saying like, we don't even remember you living with us because you were never home. You were constantly working. So I understand them like trying, or, you know, him wanting to express that and how hard the job really is and how you have to sacrifice a lot. It's a really tough ordeal, and something that you can tell like he feels very guilty about and very disappointed that he missed out on so much, and it's like just now hitting him at retirement. So it's really sad. Kind of get to know his character a little bit more too, and how invested he was in the cases that he worked on. Next up, I am giving Gillian Flynn another shot. If you've been watching some of my past videos or vlogs, and one of them I'm going to mention books that I've been reading, it may be up, but I mention Sharp Objects. It's one of the books that I read, and yeah, it was just kind of like an emotional roller coaster for me. I had a really hard time liking characters. I also just felt very about like the writing a lot of the time, so that kind of has me a little bit nervous. But my library had literally like every single one of her books, so I was like, I'm having a hard time getting some of my other ones, I'm just gonna pick up all of hers. So I've been like binge reading her books. So yeah, I read Sharp Objects. I also read this little novella, Grown Up. And you know what? I just thought, okay, maybe Sharp Objects just wasn't really for me. Again, it's not that it's a bad book. I feel like it had a lot of potential. I just think it just missed the mark for me, and just different ways that I just kind of felt just about. But this is actually really, really good. I think this is quite a bit longer than Sharp Objects, so I'm just really hoping that I don't get to a point where, like Sharp Objects, I really just wanted to DNF it. So I'm really hoping I don't get to that point with this one. We will see. I have never seen the movie, and I have never read this book. This is Gone Girl, and yes, it is large print. This is the only Gone Girl copy they had on the shelf, so I had to go with large print, and I hope it doesn't bother me. But this book has been around for a little while, so you may already know the gist of it, but I feel like I know a little bit more about this one than some of the other ones, but I still don't really know too much about it because, like I said, I've never read it, I've never seen the movie, so perfect timing to read it, and then maybe I'll check out the movie too. What I do think is really cool about this is that I am from Missouri, so I do appreciate her writing from Missouri because I feel like you don't really see it too often in books. I guess it might be for good reasons. Missouri can be really, really pretty, but yeah, it does have like some of the stuff she talks about in her books for sure. I'm just hoping I don't really get like that pit in my stomach with this one like I did with Sharp Objects and the way that it was written about Missouri, because it was just kind of like, okay, throughout the whole thing. But I do know the movie Gone Girl was filmed partially in Cape Girardeau, which is only an hour and a half away from me, and we love Cape. Me and my husband were married in Cape, so it's kind of cool. I don't really know where this one is based, like where it's actually based at, if they actually say Cape Girardeau, but I think it was supposed to be based on that. I think she bases it on towns, and then she just changes the names of the town, if she does that the same way she did with Sharp Objects. But let's get into this. On a summer morning in North Carthage, Missouri, it is Nick and Amy's 5th wedding anniversary. Presents are being wrapped and reservations made when Amy disappears from their rented McMansion on the Mississippi River. Under mounting pressure from the police and Amy's parents, the town golden boy parades an endless series of lies, deceits, and inappropriate behavior. Nick is oddly evasive, and he's definitely bitter, but is he really a killer? As the cops close in, every couple in town is wondering how well they know each other. I am so tired. I took yet another break in between and was reading on this. I did finish the first chapter. I can't say I'm having a little hard time getting reading the large print for some reason. It's throwing me off a little bit. I think it's my eyes are gonna hurt so bad going back to the like smaller print. But I got through it pretty fast. So there's not really a chapter, it's just kind of like announcing like it's going to be from his perspective, his thinking. A little bit about Nick. We know that his wife is Amy. It is their 5th year anniversary, so pretty much the same thing from the summary so far. From the beginning of the summary, she has not disappeared yet in the first chapter. I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on it so far. I can say though, reading it already from the get-go felt so much better than Sharp Objects. I just have it out for that book, I think. But this one has a shot. I think it really does have a shot. So I'm excited to keep continuing reading it. I just think it's going to be a little lower down maybe. All right, the last book for this is going to be The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. Now, this one is fiction, unlike the other cold case one. Still, I'm excited because, again, it's kind of helped set the mood for the season of Caffeine and Crime with the cold cases. But yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about this book and about Simone St. James in general, so I'm really, really excited about this one. But let's get into it because I want to read the first chapter. Some crimes come back to haunt you. A true crime blogger gets more than she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings in this chilling new novel from the best-selling author of The Sundown Motel. In 1977, Clear Lake, Oregon, was shaken by the Lady Killer murders. 2 men, seemingly randomly, were murdered with the same gun, with strange notes left behind. Beth Greer was the perfect suspect, a rich, eccentric 23-year-old woman seen fleeing one of the crime scenes, but she was acquitted and she retreated to the isolation of her mansion. Oregon, 2017. Shay Collins is a receptionist, but by night, she runs a true crime website, The Book of Cold Cases, a passion fueled by the attempted abduction she escaped as a child. When she meets Beth by chance, Shay asks her for an interview. To Shay's surprise, Beth says yes. They meet regularly at Beth's mansion, though Shay is never comfortable there. Items move when she's not looking, and she could swear she's seen a girl outside the window. The allure of learning the truth about the case from the smart, charming Beth is too much to resist, but even as they grow closer, Shay senses something isn't right. Is she making friends with a manipulative murderer, or are there other dangers lurking in the darkness of the Greer house? Literally that and that. And that is chapter 1. In chapter 1, it said part 1, and then chapter 1, Clear Lake, Oregon. So it talks about the area where the Greer mansion sat on a hill, and about the area, about when the house was built, and about the people who first lived there and tried to make it a happier place, but it always just seemed to be a gloomy mansion that sat on the hill that overlooked a cliff with water. It sets the vibe, the mood, as very gloomy and mysterious and spooky, all in just 2 pages. And the summary alone has me really, really intrigued to dive into this. And so far the writing is really pretty as well. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Searcher, of that kind of like writing style where it's very descriptive. But this one is definitely like much more grungier, gloomy, dark. It's definitely setting the mood. So I know I've had your attention for a while now, getting through all of these, but now you guys know my TBR list for this little series of videos that I'm going to be pumping out. They're going to be very vlog style. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of a twist here and there on them, and when the ideas, I guess, like come to me, because I have certain ideas. Like I said, I kind of want to pick one to do like a day in the life vlog with me while I read this book throughout the day, and I definitely need to do that once the boys start school, because I can definitely get through an entire book that way. So I will more than likely do that, but some of the other ones, I kind of think I'll scatter them between like a few days and just try to get like a couple of them done during that time, doing different things, trying to make it exciting for you guys to watch, of course, as well. But if I had to rank them as the ones that I'm most intrigued by just reading the first chapter, I'll give you guys the rundown before I end this video. So the first one is actually this one, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I don't know if I said it was by Holly Jackson, but yeah, I'm most intrigued to pick this one back up. Like, I just felt like it was very, I think it's because it's so different than any writing style I've been reading recently for a while. And I've just heard such great things about it that I just can't wait to read it. I want to know what the hype is about. So yeah, this would actually be number 1 on my... At number 2, though, I had to put my Stephen King Salem's Lot because I'm really intrigued. I want to know more. I want to read about vampires. So I think I actually would have put this one at top because I do just enjoy his writing so much. But I think it's the fact that I have been reading so much of The Stand. You guys, I'm having a hard time. I'm midway and I'm having a really hard time. It was a summer read. Because of that and how much I've been consuming his work lately, that's why this one got ranked down just 1, but it's still up there. I'm excited to read it. Then we have the book of the, it says book of the month, but this is the Simone St. James book of cold cases. I put this one next because just after like 2 pages, I'm really intrigued by this. I love the gloominess. I love how the atmosphere has been set. I definitely think the summary of this just sounds super, super intriguing to me as well too. And I think it's a pattern because up next I have the Unmasked, because I really do want to read this one because of the fact that I am doing my podcast. So I want to get some inspiration from this, maybe find a case in here that I do want to talk about on the podcast. So I kind of need to do that like sooner rather than later. But I really am like intrigued to see what I think about it, especially since it's my first nonfiction in a long time. I kind of tiered them by their summaries of what the books are actually about. So the first one I do have is Gone Girl. She actually got 3rd to last, just because I'm appreciating the writing a little bit more than I did with Sharp Objects, but because the summary itself I feel like is very intriguing. The disappearance and then the people questioning if it is him. And I just think the storyline in general is going to be right up my alley on something that I like. Just really hoping I can stick with the writing. Next though, I put The Searcher. It was kind of a toss-up between this and Dark Side because this one, although again, the writing was really, really beautiful. I read I think this one had the longest first chapter and I still I'm like, what even happened? Like nothing really happened. It's just she described everything so elaborately that it was so long, but really you don't even know like what's happening. Like nothing major has happened. Hopefully we get there with it. It'll get maybe a little bit darker, but so far it's just very airy and just peaceful reading. So I don't know, it just kind of was lower on the list. And for no particular reason, Dark Side is at the bottom. I hate to judge it so soon, again, since I've only read a chapter, but I don't know, even the summary, reading it through this time and then starting the book too and reading through the first chapter, I'm kind of just like, oh, you know, like, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully there's some twists and turns. Hopefully it gets really exciting. But right now I'm just kind of like, okay, I felt like the summary could have potential. But now that I'm starting to read it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of just very straightforward and just kind of boring. And I hate to say that, but that is how I would rank them after reading a chapter of each one of them. And I hope this video was somewhat entertaining. I'm exhausted and I feel like I've been reading all afternoon. So give me some thumbs up if you guys are still enjoying book videos or if you guys want more like this where I read through quite a few first chapters and kind of get like a series going. This one might have been full on, but I know the next ones are just going to be so much fun to create and put together and film and get some reading time in, and I'm going to have so much fun with the editing too and the ideas that I have. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much if you've watched this video. I really appreciate it. I've been having so much fun doing more lifestyle book videos, so I just appreciate any views at all on it. And like always, any recommendations, leave them down below. If I do romance, I'm gonna need some recommendations. So thank you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Look at me, there I go, choking on my silence. And I don't think you want me cause I wanna keep it private. And I don't think you know me if you're not one of my 5 friends. But it's my own fault.